I'd like to call the meeting to order and do roll call. Signify, please, by saying aye or here. Jack is here. Sarah is not here yet. Susan is here. Art?
Here.
Michelle?
Yes, here.
Sheila?
I'm here.
Prudence?
Yeah.
All right. And I believe we have a guest today, Julie Hauser, who will be speaking to us. Julie, I'm sorry I don't have you on my, let me just see. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, Janine, I'm not speaking. I'm just here.
You're just here too. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Julie, you are invited to be heard if there's anything that you would like to say.
Nope, I'm good. Just
You're good?
listen in on and see what's going on.
Okay, great.
All right, thanks.
Well, welcome. We're glad you're here. Do we need to review any of the protocols, or is everyone comfortable with passing on from that? Yes, Marcia?
Just for the record, Sarah did join us now.
Oh, okay. Sarah, are you here?
I am here.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I had trouble finding how to get into the meeting, so that was my bad.
Has everyone had the opportunity to review the minutes from last month's meeting?
I have a couple of corrections.
All right, Michelle?
Let me go find them.
In the meantime, I have one correction. In the paragraph about the August minutes, it should read that Jack seconded Michelle's motion.
Okay, thank you.
And under new business, number 2, it should be only rooms D and E and the gym, not the GYN. I thought that people would get a kick out of that. And then also down in the AAC continues its, we're down in the, under reports. State has developed a roadmap for the goals. I think it's probably, I'm guessing that should be like climate change goals, just so we kind of orient the reader. And then it should be global warming, but I would advocate for climate change as opposed to global warning. So those are my 3 comments.
And I have a question. Where it says members present, etc. Prudence, were you here last month? Your names doesn't appear.
No, Prudence was not
No,
on this time.
I was not here.
Okay.
And this is Michelle, and I just want to make one also edit to the minutes under reports. Michelle has applied on behalf of the Friends for $27,000, not to the Friends. I asked them for a lot of things, but not this one.
And to where did you make that application?
I applied to Boulder County AAA, Sarah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice minutes, though. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate it.
Well, if I had written them up sooner after the meeting, they would not, perhaps not have had so many mistakes.
I hear a motion to accept the minutes of September 2020 meeting
With the changes.
with the changes.
Whose motion?
I so move.
I
Second.
couldn't tell who said that.
Michelle.
Thank you.
Michelle moved and
Susan seconded.
Susan seconded. Okay. Old business, comments regarding sustainability handouts. Does anyone have any comments for that? No? All right. New business. Is there any other new business to report or discuss?
I have a question. Will we be looking at empty seats at the end of the year to be filled?
Great question, Susan. I did send out some information to an interested board member. Applications are being taken now. I need to shrink my screen and go to my email to give you when they're due by. They're being taken now, and let's see, the deadline is going to be 5 p.m. on November 6th. I can send out information about this. I can forward an email from the city clerk's office to board members. And then the terms that are going to be up are, I'm going there, pardon my delay here. The terms that are going to be up are, hang on just a second, I'm going. Sarah Berry, your term is up at the end of this year, but and Jack Belchinsky, your term is up at the end of the year, and Michelle Kriegat, your term is up at the end of the year of this year. Those three, what I don't know is if you're on your first or second term. So Sarah, Jack, and Michelle. And then Sheila, you are the alternate. And if you want to apply for a regular position, you need to do that. So Sarah, Jack, and Michelle, your terms are up December 31st of this year. Do you know if you're eligible for reapplying?
Michelle, this is Sarah.
Yeah.
First, I'd like to ask for some help from the Zoom manager. Somehow I am out of the meeting visual, and I don't know how to get back in. So I think
What do you mean? Your view is wrong? Like what you're seeing on your screen, Sarah?
on the screen, all I'm seeing is the word Zoom in big letters.
Oh,
That is really interesting. Do you want to, let me see here. Because
can I suggest there's a blue, at least on mine, there's a blue icon down in the bottom. It's so the Zoom is usually the page on the, what do I want to say, the internet. But there is a blue icon down below that has a camera on it. And I don't know if you can see that, Sarah, but if you open that, that should be the visual.
It's not on the bottom, but I see it, and I'm clicking it, and it's not. Nothing is changing.
Okay.
I think I probably have to go out and come back in.
you can try that, Sarah, if that's the easiest way for you.
Okay. Before I leave, though, I would just say that I will not be applying for, I don't know whether I'm eligible, I don't remember, but I'm not applying for a new term because I expect that during that next year, I'm going to be leaving Longmont, moving to another facility or another location.
Wow.
Okay, here we go. Not my best day, let's say.
Oh.
Julie?
Sarah, before you go, are you open in your web browser? Because generally what will happen is that if your web browser is open, this screen that we can all see each other on will pop up behind it. So if you minimize your web browser, you might find that this panel that we can all see each other on is behind that.
Let me see. Wish I knew more about computers. Now I now have the screen with a view of everybody.
Good deal. Thanks.
Thank you, Julie.
Sorry about that.
Sheila?
Yes, to get back to the renewing the membership on the board. In fact, I have it on, I got a renewal and I have it in front of me. I was just filling it out. So I'm going to fill it out to have another year.
Great.
If acceptable.
So Sheila, you're applying just in general, and then it'll go from there. So great.
Yes, it's asked me to do the whole application again, and there also is the question about being willing to carry on as an alternate. So
Super. My understanding, and Marcia can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think interviews are going to be the first week of December and appointments the second week of December, of course, at a council meeting, but that's my understanding today.
So Sheila, I was the alternate for a year, and then I came on the board, and it's just a way that they get an extra year out of you. So I'm glad you're applying.
thank you, Susan. I'll remember that.
Still on that note, I would also like people to be thinking about who might be interested, and I know there will be many, in being president of our board. So just a thought, just put it in the back of your minds and think. Yes, Art?
What is the age that they, in order to qualify to be on the board?
4 out of 7 people have to be over 55.
Thank you.
You bet. Good question.
Is there any other business that we need to discuss at this time? Yes,
Just
Susan?
a comment. So many losses, can't go to the senior center, everything's restricted, but the latest loss was the beginning of last month. We lost Centura Health Integrative Medicine. They're closed the doors, which served a lot of seniors.
Yes, Jack? Jack, did you have a question?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Now,
yes, now.
Okay. If you use their services and you use the credit card and you do not use all the monies on your credit card, you can call Longmont United and speak to their finance person, and they will send you a rebate in the form of a check for what you did not use.
that's fine, but the services are missing for so many people that depended on them.
Yeah,
I
I'm aware
do-
of that part as well.
Yeah. I do know that their massage therapists have moved into a private practice on 14th and Francis. And I can get information about at least the massage therapy and cranial sacral therapy practitioners if anyone thinks that would be helpful.
Please send it to me. I'm interested.
I will do that. Okay. I'd like to move on to reports. Michelle, do you have anything to share with us this morning? Michelle Wade.
Good morning, everyone. So we're headed in terms of reopening is hopefully December 1st. It will be in conjunction with our winter go. Please don't hold me to that. Obviously, it is dependent on Boulder County Public Health and how our statistics here in Boulder County continue to go. But that's kind of what the staff are looking at. And it will be minimal opening. It won't be everything opening. And it will be very structured, scheduled, controlled kind of opening. So that's kind of what the staff are looking at right now. And I will know more hopefully by the November board meeting. With regard to Longmont United Hospital, we have had an agreement with Longmont United Hospital for almost 20 years. When the then Prestige Plus, which was their Age Well program, was formed, and they have been on site. And so with kind of a perfect storm of things happening, Centura making corporate decisions relative to the services from the Center for Health Integrated Medicine, canceling, closing doors, letting staff go. That was one piece. And then certainly the pandemic and the closing of the senior center was the other piece. And so Renita has continued to participate with staff on behalf of Longmont United Hospital planning programs and doing them virtually. Right now, Longmont United Health Centura staff have indicated they're going to pick up those pieces which Renita committed to, and not all of them are being able to be committed to. So right now, Longmont United Hospital says they want to continue the arrangement we have here at the senior center. As you all know, we were going to rethink the foot care clinic service. And it may be time to rethink our arrangement with a healthcare professional in terms of our health education and health services. I'm not sure. It's, you know, the pandemic has created obviously some absolute situations that none of us anticipated. But right now, I do not have a single point person at Longmont United to work with. And that's my goal for this week and next week, is to try and figure out that communication partnership link. Renita's last day was last Friday. And so between the changes at LUH and the pandemic, we just kind of need to rethink where we're headed. And so that is definitely on my horizon. And as I move that forward, the foot clinic will probably be a part of that conversation. So that's kind of what's happening with that. We recently, Brandy Queen and myself have been a part of a countywide group called the Elder Justice Coalition. Longmont Senior Services started some work back in the late 1990s around elder abuse and education regarding elder abuse. And then the county in 2006 got a grant through the Office of the Violence Against Women Prevention Grant, and in 2006, 7, and 8. And we actually, the county and the Elder Justice Coalition, just got another grant. It's several $100,000. It's a 3-year grant to look at education of police throughout the criminal justice system, actually. Judges, district attorneys involved, our Safe Shelter and Safe House Progressive Alliance for Nonviolence is involved. MESA, Moving to End Sexual Assault, is involved. Adult Protection, Longmont Senior Services. And I'm really thrilled to say Chris Merkel, one of our Longmont police detectives, is on the national training team, and he will be helping locally with training police, judge, fire, other professionals. So it's really exciting that we're going to be able to refresh that training, reach out to new officers, new firefighters, new folks who are in the aging world, and really beef up our training. So very excited about that grant and really glad to be a part of that. And Brandy and I will both be involved in moving that grant forward. So that's pretty exciting. We've been getting really great feedback on some of the virtual programs. So we're all still kind of learning. We are still monitoring all those virtual programs with staff. The senior computer tech programs are also going very well. And we are working on a countywide effort along with city staff who have CARES funding and the Digital Divide funding to get devices and education and Wi-Fi connectivity to older adults in Longmont. So those pieces are slowly but surely coming together. And so we're excited about that. Still have lots of staff helping support Longmont Housing Authority work. I think I've mentioned in the past, Deanne and Monica have taken on the file room at the LHA admin building and are feeling quite proud of the very visible impact they've been able to make in helping organize some of that paper at LHA. Brandy continues to supervise the supportive services staff person at the suites. I continue to be involved in the property management end of things, and my learning curve is straight up, and I am way behind on many things because that has sort of taken precedence. But we're doing some hiring, we're trying to negotiate some challenge emergency situations, and then we just started the process for the construction at Aspen Meadows Apartments. And so some of those folks are going to have to move out for a period of time while that construction occurs. And I'm really thrilled to say Teresa Schulte said yes to being what I am calling her is the relocation queen. So she's working with the folks, the tenants at Aspen Meadows Apartments, and helping negotiate the apartments, the packing, the moving, the hotel, all those kinds of logistics. So Teresa is doing that work for us. Martine and Griffin are still spending the majority of their time cleaning at recreation facilities at the Memorial Building, Centennial Pool, and the Rec Center. And they will come home when we reopen. And we are all doing our best to stay in touch in this virtual world and celebrate birthdays and celebrate length of employment milestones and, you know, personal celebrations as well. And I cannot tell you how phenomenal. I have always respected this group of people whom I'm very fortunate to work with, and they have just been amazing. So that's been a real highlight. Can't think. I think that's probably it, unless you have a question for me about anything. So.
No, I don't have a question, but I know that yeah. Art, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to ask now, I want to get clarification. You're talking about, again, limited or minimal opening on December 1st. Now, last month we talked about opening the gym and some of these other things. Now, did that happen or not?
No, it has not happened yet, Art. I have to submit a reopening plan to Boulder County Public
Okay.
Health, and I have not done that yet. As the cases were rising over the last 2 to 3 weeks, especially in Boulder, we were not getting a green light to go ahead and submit anything. So we kind of slowed down our approach, and now things seem to be going in a better direction. So we'll get back on board with that. So
Okay.
no, it did not happen.
Okay, and then one more question. Someone that I was talking, in fact, it was Waldo Valdez and I were talking the other day, and we got into the discussion about elderly abuse. And is that, you know, I know with juveniles or children, those they have to be reported by law, through law, if law enforcement or anybody else it's brought to their attention. Is that hold true with adults as well?
It does, Art. In 2016, Colorado passed the mandatory reporting law of elder abuse. They define an elder as somebody over the age of 70. That was what the state committee recommended. So the age is 70, you mandatory report to your police department, and then local police, law enforcement work with adult protection to investigate and respond to those situations. Recently, the state of Colorado did a research analysis and found that, I think, don't quote me, 18% of cases should have been further investigated and were not. So please don't quote me on that. I'm probably not saying that correctly. So we know that we have work to do. We have people who are mandatory reporters who don't know that they're mandatory reporters. So we have work to do on that. And so there is definitely room for more education throughout the entire system. And I'm really looking forward to this grant helping us do that.
Thank you.
You bet. Great questions. Thank you. Susan.
Do you have any kind of estimated time frame where you'll be hiring somebody to take over the housing authority?
So we've started doing interviews now for some key positions, Susan. And so we have 2 community manager positions, a maintenance tech position, some accounting. I'm not exactly sure what those job titles are, but some accounting positions. And then I believe we are soon going to advertise for a portfolio manager, and that person is responsible for all 9 properties and the staff who work there. So it's been a gradual process. I think that there are folks, Marcia included, and the city manager, who will be looking at other decisions related to the housing authority that I'm really not a part of. So there could still be more things to come, but right now we're trying to fill those key positions.
So then you will be easing out in the foreseeable future of that role? Okay.
You know, it has been, yes, I will be easing out, and I am really glad I had this opportunity to jump in. It's been overwhelming in terms of knowledge, and overwhelming in some cases in terms of emotion. We've had some tough situations, but I feel like myself and my staff are in a fabulous position to do good work on behalf of older people in Longmont. Amy, Melissa, and Veronica are now spending time at each of the senior buildings, making really good connections with tenants there. Teresa is doing great work at Aspen Meadows in a very difficult situation. So I'm really glad we've had this opportunity. And I'm also super excited to get the senior center back open and get back on track.
Thank you.
Marcia, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. I'd just like to add, at the one question that Michelle didn't answer, which is the chairman or president of the organization, that I think Harold's current thinking is that the final organization needs to be settled, and the organization needs to operate in its new configuration so that they can decide what the skills are for the leader before Harold replaces himself in that role.
And I just have to say, I have not worked super closely with Harold in a lot of projects, and my respect for him and my appreciation for all he does has grown immensely through this process. Not that it was ever bad, but I've just had opportunity, and I am very, very respectful of all he knows and all he does. And he jumped in full on in a couple of the emergencies, and I really am super appreciative of that.
I have to second that. He is an amazing person who is conversant with every aspect of running this city. It's truly amazing how anyone could have that breadth of understanding and that depth of dedication that he has.
Yep. Janine, I think you had a question. I'm sorry, back.
No, I don't. I've just been thinking about your health services issues right now, and I want to let you know that I just renewed both my RN and nurse practitioner license. And in the interim, if you have any needs, any acute needs, I'd like to volunteer for the senior center to be a support system for you in any way that I could be.
That is great. Thanks, Janine. I do know for sure, as this unfolds, if we end up opening another RFP or looking at doing this differently, it is really going to be the advisory board who helps craft that. And your knowledge and expertise and others, especially around healthcare, will be really important.
I'm sorry that I can't see everyone on my screen. So is there anyone else who has any questions or comments for Michelle? No? Okay. City Council, Marcia, if their contributions.
You're muted, Marcia.
Marcia, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Sometimes the space bar works to unmute me and sometimes it doesn't. I was holding down the space bar, but not looking at my little red microphone. Sorry. The city council has been focusing on the budget and on the parking ordinances for RVs, and that's pretty much used everything up. So we are due for another report soon on the Longmont Housing Authority. And Michelle, do you have any questions or concerns about the funding for the senior center? Because I didn't notice any, but I am not the most acute person when it comes to money. So
for 2021, Marcia, is that what
yes.
Yeah, I think we are good. The one piece that I wanted was that 1/4 of the marketing person would actually get funded by the general fund because she is doing so much on behalf of the whole city.
Mm-hmm.
And that is in the budget, and I feel very good about that. So thank you for asking.
Excellent. I feel like the essential services are coming out pretty well so far. The other thing that I have to report is that I've had some extended conversations with Chief Spendlow, who I have to say is doing an excellent job with a difficult role, entering it at a difficult time. A few of you are going to be participating with me in a conversation that, by the way, I've checked with legal, and there is no conflict with being on this board and participating in that public initiative. So he doesn't have a problem with that. Eugene doesn't have a problem with that. But I've been talking to him on a variety of issues right up to contingency plans for if there's violence around the election. And I would have to say that they are on top of the issue as much as they can be, in case anybody's been worrying about that. And, you know, if you've driven down North Main on a Saturday afternoon, or Jack, if you've been standing there, you know that things are fairly edgy right now. So they are planning for it, and it depends on what's needed, whether there'll be sufficient resources or not, but they are working out cooperative agreements, resource agreements with other cities, which is about the only option that we have. So any questions about that? Yeah, Sheila.
I'm going to be at the Longmont Hub on election day, serving in a new position, and I think it's called, I'm a tracker. Anyway, I assume I'm going to be supplied with a stopwatch or something similar. The idea is to determine how long people wait in line, how long it takes them to fill out a ballot, how long it takes them to use the fairly new electronic voting systems. So I'm looking forward to it, and I have a little apprehension that I hope that I will be well designated as an official election worker, and I won't come across anybody who thinks I am not what I say I am. So
I hope so too.
I will report back.
Thank you very much. Thank you for doing that. As a former election judge, I would say that Boulder County Elections has always done a really effective job.
Yeah, I've worked with them before, and I'm always impressed. Excellent work.
Yes. Jack.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
What's doing with our post office services? Are they safe?
I didn't hear the question.
What's
Jack
happening
asked,
with our postal services? Are they safe?
Thank you.
I don't think there's any question about safety. And there was a Colorado report that said that there have not been significant delays except in a few isolated cases. Now, one of the isolated cases was my last medicine order. So, you know, but I think they have realized that some of those early efficiency measures were misguided and backed off at the local level. So, I mean, I wouldn't ever consider mailing my ballot in. You know, I especially since we have a pretty accessible group of drop-off locations. And you can also walk into the hub and drop off your ballot if you don't like the outdoor drop boxes. And I may even do that this year. But nevertheless, there is a study that says that our mail is okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I've voted by mail for the last 20 years. I've lived in Larimer County. because I live in rural Larimer County. So it was hard for me to understand what the big deal was.
Well, I don't think it ever was a big deal before.
True.
But yeah, this year. And the other thing is, I don't know whether it's true in Larimer County, Michelle. You're probably not probably the only non-Boulder County resident here, right? But Boulder County Elections has a really good ballot tracker service where you can get texts or emails or both when your ballot is received, processed, and that's a really good thing because, you know, if they have questions about your signature or something, you want to get in there and remedy that before the election gets called. So that's my other big election advice is sign up for ballot tracker. Okay, thanks.
You're muted, Janine.
Sarah, do you have anything to report on the Area Agency on Aging?
Yes, briefly. We had a meeting last Friday. It was primarily reports from various persons about activities going on outside the Area Aging Council. The first one was a report from Erica Colson on the long-term care ombudsman program. And just to mention a couple things that I learned from that discussion. That program, the staff of that program have to comply with myriad regulations from federal, state, local government, as well as the program's own internal rules of operation. So it's pretty complicated. CMS on the federal level regulates visitation to long-term care facilities. The state, through the Department of Health and Public, something, I can't remember that exact term, but the department that controls Medicaid may have conflicting rules in place. The state has executive orders. Boulder County Public Health has county-specific orders, particularly regarding COVID. And then the state ombudsman sends out directives to them, as well as the direction that comes from the county commissioners and management. So it's a pretty complicated problem or context in which to work. They have not been able to visit the facilities indoors since March. Mainly been doing virtual visits, which I can understand would be very difficult with somebody that was in a facility because of lack of abilities. But as of September 1st, they've started doing outdoor visits. So if the patient is able to come outside, and they can meet with them there. Oh, and one more thing about the regulations under which they operate. If the facility is part of a corporate structure, then they have to deal with whatever rules that business has set up for access to patients. So I have a much greater appreciation for the complexity of what that person does. And they gave us the contact information, which is relatively easy. If anybody wants the phone number for that ombudsman position or the email address, I'll be happy to send it to you. Not hearing anything, I'll move ahead. We had the third and last session on the education program on reforming aging. And Michelle, you asked if I wanted that outline to be sent out to the board members.
I went ahead and sent it, Sarah, so everybody did get it.
Okay. I just say that that's a sample of what the training included and the purpose of it. And if you review that, we'll apparently be making a decision sometime in the future about whether we would like a presentation to our board on that subject. I just make one summary comment. I think the goal of that is that we develop a sensitivity for how the language that's used about elders, the aging process, et cetera, how that sort of, without our realizing it, has an effect on how we frame issues and make decisions about programs for older people. And I think for that reason, it's sort of like having training on institutional racism and how you don't recognize that how you frame an issue and the language that you use in describing it affects how you proceed to try to develop solutions to problems. I probably would be a voice in favor of our sometime down the road having that training. And the last training exercise was on guardianship and conservatorship. We had an elder law attorney present on that. And her outline is available if anybody's particularly interested in that subject matter. Let me know and I can get you that outline.
Sarah, I would be very interested in that outline.
Okay.
We, in the first round of our elder abuse training back in 06, 07, 08, we involved Judge Roxanne Balin and spent quite a bit of time with her talking about guardianships and the local court being more invested in how they selected a guardian and also how they monitored guardians. So it definitely can play into the whole arena of elder abuse. And so I would be very interested in that information.
Okay.
Me too, Sarah. Susan.
Her presentation probably did not go into that same level of detail, but it's a good general outline about how the system works. And I'll get that to you.
Thank you.
And to me, Sarah?
Excuse me, Susan?
Yeah, send it to me too.
I'll just send it to everybody. The final thing that we did on Friday was to hear from the resource specialists from various locations, including Veronica, about what's been happening with the requests for resources during COVID. And Veronica reported that there's been an increase in the Longmont cases since April, both phone inquiries and email. And many of them, she says, have involved financial problems because of loss of job or inability to pay rent. And this is a reflection of the fact that we serve many seniors who are still employed, or would have been employed, were it not for COVID. So the new people seeking help continues, the number continues to grow. Lafayette did an interesting thing that they had a system of proactive outreach. Their resource specialist affirmatively contacted some 300 people that they had in their files as having been served in the past. And as a smaller community and smaller senior program, it's been hard for them to handle the complexity of services when they can't make home visits. And they do not have full access to language translation. Neil mentioned a interesting thing that I never would have thought of. He said that he manages the call-in system, people requesting resources for AAA, and he said that most callers rarely know what they need. They'll call just with, I've got this, I can't pay my rent, or, some general problem like that. And so one of their jobs is to investigate, try to figure out exactly what it is that that person is looking for. I think, well, another problem they mentioned, which I would never have thought of, is that for mountain residents, transportation is a big problem. And they mentioned that people often would hitchhike into town to get groceries. Well, during COVID, people are not picking up hitchhikers. So they've had to figure out a different method of getting food to people. Oh, the final thing on that, I think, was something that also surprised me. And they reported that it's rare for caregivers, family caregivers specifically, to call seeking help. And this sort of confirms an observation that I made among my friends and acquaintances, is that it's really hard to convince a family caregiver that they need or should, or that it's okay to take advantage of services available from senior services or AAA or elsewhere. And that often they'll try everything to try to solve the problem themselves before they'll ask for assistance. So that's my report.
Janine, you're muted again. Sorry. Now you're muted, but before we couldn't hear you either.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I was sneezing with allergies, so I wanted to go off. Susan, do you have anything to report on Friends?
Yep, still meeting regularly, still have healthy funds available to the senior center. So some of that is being diverted and tracked as COVID funding, whether it's people needing rents or hearing aids or whatever they need help with. And then increased monies going to help fund the technology program, which is benefiting people who are willing to learn. And the last big thing that, well, they've got people working on updating our donor book and the plaques that are available in the lobby when people do give a large donation. And I guess within the next month or so, you should be seeing the annual brochure asking people to see if they would be willing to donate to the Friends, especially this year with all the extra needs and requirements.
I would add, if I can, Susan, the Friends is doing some kind of cleanup, reorganizing, and rethinking their board manual, but also their fiscal policies. So if you are ever interested in that, please know the Friends do have some fairly strict guidelines around their investment philosophy, their spending philosophy, and guidelines around financial policies around that. And so they are kind of gathering all of those things in one place and are really looking at having a whole sort of fiscal approach, which I think is really great, because sometimes they would pass a motion in a meeting and it would end up in the minutes, and it might have been related to financial issues. So really trying to capture all of that into an overall fiscal approach. And so I feel really good about what they're doing with that. And they have several retired and active CPAs now. And I think they're giving good advice for the long term. So I'm very thrilled about that.
Is there anything else to add to that? No? Okay. Michelle, do you have anything to report on TRG?
Nothing to report on TRG.
Okay. Art, do you have anything to report on Boulder County Latino Coalition? Sarah?
So
Sarah,
Art and Sarah, you're both muted. So Art, we didn't hear what you had to say about the Latino Coalition.
Okay. One of the things that probably most of us know is that there's doing some remodeling at the county buildings. And one of the things that Robin Valdez reported on is that if anybody's going to go down there, if you know people that are going there, to make sure to call and make sure they don't need an appointment to go in and see someone there. The other thing is dealing with driver's license. If you know of anybody that's trying to get their driver's license renewed, is to encourage them to make an appointment. I personally went up there a couple of weeks ago, not realizing that my license were due, and I waited for about an hour and a half, and never were able to get in because they're taking the people with the appointments. And if there's a break in between, they'll take someone. In the hour and a half that I was there, no one got in. So again, call in for an appointment if you need that. One of the people that reported last time was Louis Lopez with the Alternatives for Youth, and he gave a real good report about doing what they can with the kids. Again, no in-person meeting, but they're doing some feeding and again encouraging kids to do what needs to be done. But he says there's a lot more kids out, obviously due to school the way it is. So if you see some youngsters around your area, there's nothing wrong with keeping an eye on them, because he says vandalism has gone up a little bit. Kids will be kids, and so just keep an eye, and if there's any concern, there's no hesitation in calling the police if you feel it needs to be done. Bob Norris made a report again about the new safety chief or the director of public safety, and he said that if anybody has any comments or whatever, that Harold has extended an invitation to have people call him, leave a message or whatever about individuals that or qualifications that the individual we should be looking at with the new safety chief. It was also mentioned that Martha Moreno recently retired. I don't know how long ago that was, but I guess that she's been about 40 years in the community, being an advocate for community members. And that was a thing that was brought up. And then the other thing was, again, they didn't get specific, but there was a report about undocumented workers still having issues with different things. And they're just saying that there's any organizations that, and I primarily here, I would say with us, we don't ask people if they're documented when they come to the center or things like that. And I told them, I didn't think we did, but that question did come up. Not only with us, but I mean, anybody.
So, Ari, that's a great point. That is not the first question we ask. There are certainly resources that are not available to individuals who don't have their documentation, but Veronica and Amy and Melissa know what is available, as well as what might not be available, but they will visit with anyone who gives them a call. Absolutely.
Okay, and that's what I told them, to continue to go in there and see Veronica, and if they'll help them and take care of them. That's my report.
Oh, all right. Michelle, TRG.
I already said that there's nothing to report.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Longmont Economic Development Partnership. I have nothing to report at this time, although I know that we participate quarterly, but I haven't had any feedback or heard anything from them for about the last 6 months. So I plan to contact them and find out when our quarterly participation will take place. Jack, do you have anything to report on sustainability?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just a quick review of 10 areas the sustainability plan addresses. Just a quick review. Air quality, buildings and infrastructure, community cohesion and resilience, economic vitality, energy, food system, natural environment, transportation, waste, and water. Now, the last meeting, they talked about the Climate Action Task Force, which includes adaptation and resiliency, building and emergency use and energy use, education and outreach, land use and waste management, renewable energy, and transportation. During the meeting, they talked about a Climate Action Task Force recommendation for the city, namely increasing charging stations for EV vehicles. They talked about bus stops and maybe revamping some of the way passengers are picked up. They talked about something about pay for parking recommendations. Not quite sure how that went over with the community members and local businesses, but they're planning on thinking about, and I think they're bringing it to the city council if they haven't already. Marcia can address that. And there's something about a sustainability tax. Boulder County in 2016 had a sustainability tax on sales and use tax revenues, and Longmont received $125,000. And they're using some of that money, thinking about a 3/4 time grant coordinator, residential program coordinator, and trying to do work on carbon-free transportation roadmap, working with the Farmers Market program here in Longmont, and a neighborhood impact grant program to help local communities do things for sustainability, whether it's waste management, air quality, et cetera, et cetera. And there was something else that came up, and I think I talked about it quickly last time. The Platte River Power Authority had 2 public programs for the public to participate in, because they're planning on closing down another coal plant. And which really bothered me is to want to go to gas or natural energy. And I must say, most of the participants in public announcements on how they felt about it, gas, of course, comes from the fracking. And as we all know, fracking poses a problem to our health and certainly our environment. And they certainly got an overabundance of negative feelings about having the gas run our new power plant. And hopefully they'll use natural energy, but that's up to them and it's under consideration now. And there's something else I'd like to mention. We've had fires locally, and one in Larimer County, certainly. And I just want the folks pleasant to know that these fires impact our health. And Janine will certainly agree with that it's bad for your lungs. And seniors especially should be careful and probably wearing masks and limiting their outdoor activity. There's 11 states that have fires. There's 4.2 million acres that are burning now. And many of the big fires, in Colorado, the Cameron Peak fire is only 42% contained. It's 127,393 acres. The Williams Fork fire is 13,785, is only 25% contained. So I think seniors, or maybe something could be put into the magazine we put out, that seniors should be more aware of their time outside because it's very, very harmful to their lungs. Not only the carcinogenicity, but the irritation that it causes, especially if the older folks have asthma or any respiratory problems. I think it's something we should consider and be careful about. That's it. Thank you. Next meeting, by the way, is October the 28th, and it's going to be virtual. And probably if I have the minutes of the meeting, I can report on it in November or early December. Thank you. Can't hear you.
Gosh. Can anyone else hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay.
No, I can't.
Yes.
There is, if we do an article on there in the Go addressing that, there is a daily website that Longmont does publish that tells about air quality and whether it's safe to go outdoors. I mean, right now for high-risk populations, no day is safe to go out really, except for very limited exposure. And just because you don't smell the smoke in the air, it doesn't mean that the particulates are not there. So, and the anticipation is, because there's not a lot of funding for fighting those fires, are that we will probably be looking at poor air quality for at least another 6 weeks, unless we get some miracle snow. So just to include that.
Yeah, can I add something, please?
Yes.
The weather.com also has a part of their weather on the web that'll tell you about your air quality for this general area. It'll tell you about ozone and tell you about particulate matter within the air that one breathes. And if anyone's interested, there's something called a National Interagency Fire Center.org or NIFC.org. Tell you about what's going on in Western fires, what their containment is, and a lot of other good information if someone cares to partake. And those fires are a serious problem, by the way.
Sarah, do you have anything to report on census complete count?
Well, the county committee has closed down operations. It was my understanding that the National Census Bureau had extended the period for 1 month to report, so that instead of September 30th as the ending date, October 31st would be. But I have no further information on that.
Okay. I'd like to move on to closing statements. Julie, is there anything you would like to ask, contribute, or any statements you would like to make? No? Okay. Any other business that anyone has to contribute at this time?
Janine, it looks like Marcia has her hand up.
Thank you. Marcia?
Yeah, I just wanted to respond. There were two things in Jack's report that he asked me to respond to and that I can. The first one is that the way the recommendations of the Climate Action Task Force are being handled by the city staff is that the recommendations are being parceled out to the various operational departments that can handle them, such as waste management, water, and Longmont Power and Communications. And those recommendations are being evaluated to go on to the city work plan and the capital improvement plan. So that's a good thing. Some of them you may not see them for several years, but in most cases, the plan for a plan is going to be in the 2021 schedule. So that's a really good thing. I monitor the Platte River Power Authority pretty closely, and there are some serious problems with their process, and I believe with their expertise. They've been a coal plant being a coal plant for a real long time, and the state of Colorado has now said there will be no more coal by 2030 and no more natural gas by 2040 used to generate electricity. And they are not really, in my opinion, accepting the reality of that. They're planning on building natural gas plants way late in 20-year planning cycle. I have an article in yesterday's Times Call, and a good friend of mine has an article in Friday's Times Call, last Friday's Times Call, both of them opinion columns, not letters, that I think everybody should take a look at. Well, you know, one exposes the problems in the process that they're following, and one exposes the wasteful spending that would happen if PRPA followed the plan. So I do encourage everybody to take a look.
Marcia, I did not catch where that source is.
The Times Call, both of them.
Thank you.
That Art? I think can you unmute? Does anyone have anything else to contribute at this time? Did you hear that, Art?
Want me to unmute?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Does anyone else have anything else to contribute at this time? May I have a motion then to adjourn the meeting?
So
I
moved.
want to adjourn.
And do I hear a second?
I second, Michelle.
I thank you all for participating today, and goodbye and have a good week.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.